We're potting riff tracks. Riff
Rifftrax.
and the Von Sam always. Exactly. You see, the cats get the rats eat the cats, and I eat rats, and then the cats eat my asshole, and but we're getting a little ahead of ourselves. Um, that doesn't happen in the movie, thank God. This I
I
wouldn't.
mean, it's probably 1 degree away from that.
Yeah, this yeah, the scene of the cats eating his butthole was probably like, yeah, that was probably like the castration scene in Freaks. Just like that's that's one thing too far. We can't do that. Like,
Yeah, they had to cut it out.
had to cut that out. Damn it. Um, we're talking about
Release the butthole
Maniac.
cut.
We're talking about Maniac. Release the butthole cut. Come on, WB. Come on. Anyways, we're talking about Maniac appropriately because this film is genuinely. I saw there's a wonderful documentary. I shouldn't say wonderful documentary film series. It's quite frankly, a really bizarre documentary film series. 100 Years of Horror with Christopher Lee. He's wonderful in it. Everything else
Hmm.
very odd, but good. Um, and they talk about this on the episode about Maniacs, and they kind of go into the guy's background. They they talk to Fred Olin Ray, who did a couple of MSTs or a couple of riff tracks, and essentially this guy wasn't so much a filmmaker as he was a carnival barker who owned a camera. Really, and that really comes through when you watch the movie.
It starts to paint a real picture.
You're like, no offense to people who grew up in carnivals, but this movie looks like a movie made by someone who grew up in carnivals.
Yeah, and I I feel at least it tries to be more ambitious than like your, let's say, Santa Claus and the Ice Cream Bunny or Roller Gators. So at least it tries to take away from a different setting, but it has that tone, that unmistakable kind of carny tone that yeah, makes a lot of sense in hindsight.
Yeah, much more pleasant than Things, I have to say.
Yeah, definitely.
This is this is fucking Cocoa Lemon compared to Things. Like this was a jaunt. Um, but no, we should probably get into it right now. See, how do I share the screen? I'm gonna share the screen. I'm gonna share the screen. Share. Okay, folks. Those of you on YouTube will be able to see this. We with start out with this weird little title. I don't know specifically what is this supposed to be. Like it's him. It's the doctor, but like is the middle part his body?
I very much think it is, and he just has a very slender waist there. He's going to give Eartha Kitt and Julie Newmar a run for their money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's weird. Oh god. Okay, we get the cast list. It says Phyllis Diller is Mrs. Mrs. Bucky. I'm sorry, Mrs. Bucky. I doubt this is the Phyllis Diller. Just really do. Maisie and Marvel, played by Ginny Dark and Marvel Andre. Loving the names.
Hmm.
And we have a weird. It looks like a death mask of Bela Lugosi in the back.
I forget who they refer to. Marie Curie is who they say
Yeah,
that face is.
Marie Curie. We get directed by Dwayne Esper. Uh, in this in this movie, there's going to be a large amount of text about mental health. All of it is quackery and flummery. All this is.
Mhm.
I'm not even going to read it. Like that's honestly how outdated and weird this kind of stuff is.
Yeah, and I feel it's meant to be educational. It's meant to be sympathetic. I feel when I read it, I feel almost an Ed Wood kind of vibe where, like, in Glen or Glenda, where it's trying to be insightful, it's trying to be deep and profound, and it gives us the least it's like having, you know, someone read, the diagnostic of mental illnesses, and it's placed over something as vapid as, I don't know, Madam Web.
Yeah,
So it just doesn't congeal, it doesn't help in any way represent these conditions because the character is just a maniac and not even, just a cartoonish one-dimensional maniac, not even someone who's meant to represent someone with depression, anxiety, or any sort of mental condition in any sort of realistic way.
yeah, absolutely. So we've got Maxwell and Dr. Herman Schultz. Uh, it's your standard plot, Jesse. I mean, uh, an impressionist, a vaudeville impressionist, is down on his luck, so he has to take up with a mad scientist. We've seen it 1,000 times before.
I'm pretty sure we've seen it on the Satellite of Love.
Vaudeville impressionists. If doing impressions could get you this far in life, god damn, I'd be Mark fucking Cuban right now. You kidding me?
Yeah, you just need to go to find some mad scientists and you'll be good.
Mm-hmm. And I can do my killer bogey, sweetheart.
And they're making all sorts of impressionist jokes, like, oh, your great impression of all these more modern film stars compared to this movie, anyway.
Mm-hmm. This movie looks like shit. Like that. That's something I should clear up. There's no good print of this movie.
And
It's like Witch with a Flying Head. No good print exists. Like,
so, for those just listening, this is a black and white feature, just something we hadn't detailed before. But even then, there's almost no contrast. Everything looks kind of smudgy, frankly, unfocused, and yeah, when you know the details, it's a short movie too. It's only about 50 minutes.
yeah. And
So yeah,
we have two similarly dressed weirdos uh, arguing with each other,
one
essentially.
with the Harpo weave.
Yeah. They decide to go down to the morgue, which is in a dungeon for some reason, like zoning problems. I have no idea. Um, this is an odd part right here.
They start to unveil the body of a
Starts to
woman.
unveil the body. He's disguised himself as the embalmer to get in there. They inject something into her. We never figure out what this stuff is. It seems to be rejuvenative, like a life elixir, but he never really uses it again.
Yeah, just the one-off usage.
We have this rough-looking gentleman. He looks like what the thing must have looked like as a human, or what the thing would look like now if he hadn't changed into the thing.
It's an off-brand Michael Chiklis.
Mm-hmm. You get a lot of acid around. Uh, these two gentlemen, the thing guy and the other coroner, they seem to be watching again. Like this movie is shot so weirdly, we don't know what's going on really.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're watching these two work, and they think it's the doctor and the coroner, but it's actually not.
And then we get our favorite
Yeah,
character as we have these people just talking around in a room. Um,
it's
I
just
don't know it's the police officers, and then I don't know. The most interesting part is one of them's absolutely indiscernible. You can't make out what he's saying.
yes, you can't. We have much more assing around with Maxwell and Herman Schultz. Cut to a heart beating, which means nothing. You can
There's
tell.
not the strongest plot here.
No, it doesn't really have much of a plot.
I guess the only thing you have to know is one's a mad scientist, and there's, I guess, I don't even know if it's particularly relevant, but there's our favorite cat fur emporium seller, and yeah,
The cats
uh,
fighting, which I'm sure were actual cats fighting.
yeah, yeah, it looked like more play fighting. It didn't look too bad.
And he gets spooked by the cats and can't steal a body. But Herman Schultz needs a body. And Herman Schultz gives him the gun to kill himself. This is ultimately Herman Schultz's Waterloo because Maxwell uses it to shoot Herman Schultz. Then we get
Uh,
some nonsense on dementia pretox. What are you saying?
I don't know, just that again, these title cards, again, I think are meant to be informative in the way like you might see with Reefer Madness, and probably that's the most
Mm-hmm.
appropriate one because it is outdated. It's probably not as egregiously outdated as Reefer Madness, but it's not a good look and it doesn't really add much.
And Maxwell feels bad about what he's done, but not enough to not dream about uh, stock footage from better movies. Because we see scenes from Die Nibelungen Saga and Haxen, two infinitely better movies than this. Uh, the the devil with the long beard they say looks like Serge Tankian, which is a reference I love. And ultimately, a woman comes in asking for Herman Schultz's assistance. He Maxwell realizes what he needs to do. He Herman Schultzifies himself,
Mm-hmm.
which was written about in the Herman Schultzification of Lauryn Hill, I believe. Uh, and more blather about mental illnesses. We get a very un chien andalou shot of looking at this gentleman's eye. And apparently, this guy's malady is he thinks he's the Rue Morgue murderer from Poe's story. And I believe that I believe that is a mental illness. It's called League of Extraordinary Gentlemanitis.
And here I was thinking of something like Mad Hatteritis, Travis Techitis.
It's a specific mental disease where you only think you're one of the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen characters.
And yeah, I guess while this doesn't have much of a plot, it does have some uh Edgar Allan Poe feelings, some very overt ones,
Hmm.
uh which we'll get to a little later. And it's probably one of the more charming aspects of this movie.
Yeah.
I do feel maybe that's what kind of situated away from the carnival environment and into something a mix of mad science and Edgar Allan Poe's kind of tortured protagonists.
Hmm. Ultimately, what we get is he doesn't really know how to treat this guy, or well, he does. He actually has the syringe to which to treat the guy, but Satan the cat startles him, and he drops it, and he decides to take a injection of water, give the guy water, which sounds like it would kill you. I don't know. It's actually pure adrenaline, and we get a big performance by this dude, and they comment on it.
Yeah, it's just very out there.
We have what is what all is going on in this movie? We have this guy we have Remorque Murder going insane, attacking his wife, and promptly stealing another woman. Uh, this woman, very interesting, unscrupulous, I guess would be the term,
Mhm.
because she wants to basically control her husband, like
Yeah.
completely, and she's okay with this kind of mind control serum doing this, which is an extremely unhealthy relationship, but whatever. And we have 1930s boobs,
Hmm.
which again, just there's nothing sexy about anything in any of these. We're already
Yeah.
halfway through this fucking thing.
And tell me if you're starting to see a plot, viewers at home.
We have Maxwell Herman Schultz talking to this odd gentleman in a Peaky Blinders hat. Uh, Inside the lab, Satan eats the heart,
Hmm.
which that sounds a lot cooler than it actually is.
Yeah.
He promptly Maxwell is now disposing of the body of Herman Schultz, and he does so behind a wall like the cask of Amontillado, which is
They even make a joke a lot later where they're saying, if you get thirsty, there's some Amontillado back there.
mhm. There's an interesting practical effect that happens. Did you read how this is done?
No, I wasn't aware of how this effect was done for the cat, correct?
In basically uh, two semi-unbroken takes, Maxwell as Herman Schultz pops out one of Satan's eyes and eats it. How this was done was the cat playing Satan only had one eye, and they got basically a grape and just kind of popped it in, and then they did the stunt and popped it out, ate it. And,
For a moment, I thought it was a different cat because it looks like there's a different pattern. Again, this is not the clearest looking film, but it looks like Satan the cat is just a regular black cat. But then when you get up close, it looks like a tabby cat that's getting its eye quote unquote gouged out.
It might be a stunt cat. I seems like it could be.
Yeah, I personally assumed it was a stun cat that did have that eye, and then Satan also gets walled up
Hmm.
as they complete the little Casco Amontillado. And
Okay,
then
now this is where things start to get mighty queer. Let me just tell you,
so queer, so queer.
so queer,
On July of all months.
very queer. Yeah, I mean, but no,
So
this woman describes everything as queer, and they really sink their teeth into it. Like, there's some queer stuff going on up there. Oh, like what? Men having sex with each other.
and I think they say in Queersburg or something that the riffers add to this.
Something queer and queer.
So yeah, it's like every instance of the word queer in Lord of the Rings, Hobbit, amplified by 10 in just this one scene alone.
It it really is. It's beautiful. It's mighty queer. And after her queerness, we get to this fucking guy, the cat
So this is probably
salesman.
the most memorable character and probably the most memorable moment in this whole movie. And this is after seeing a man eat a cat's eyeball, quote unquote.
Yeah. Okay.
So he
Can
has
you
a,
can you explain the business model? Because I don't fucking get it.
well, first, there is, of course, inviting this detective to see all 1,000 cats in your backyard, which the
Yeah.
Riffers say is an instant red flag, and that you say no to, but he goes anyway. And he goes
Mhm.
on to elaborate on the model, saying that, cats, they typically eat rats. So that helps with everything. They eat the rats, it keeps away all the pests. So it's very understandable business model so far. Then
Gotcha.
we discover that the cats, have this thing on them called fur and skins, fur
Yeah.
skins that could be pretty good for, I don't know, whatever recreational use. Maybe you're outsourcing for Cruella de Vil. Don't know. Not my business, but it's his business, and he wants the skins.
Genuine,
So
genuine cat fur shoes. There you go, Dad.
so then when only a surprisingly small amount of cat is fur and skin. So
Mhm.
what do you do with the rest of it? I mean, I don't know. You could probably think of something clever, but
Give it a proper
our
Christian burial.
yeah, proper Christian burial or something. But no, in fact, what he has is a self-sustaining economy. So the cats, get rid of the rats. The cats have their furs removed, and then the rats eat the whatever remains of the cats. And then the cats eat the rats who eat the cats who eats the rats.
Of course.
So it's an endless it's a self-sustaining economy.
Yeah, he's the perfect businessman.
Yeah, I'm not assuming there's going to be any mad cat disease breaking out.
Hmm.
And yeah, he's truly an innovator.
Oh yeah, this guy needs to talk to the sharks.
Oh,
Okay, we get
he'd be
this
one of the
weird
sharks.
transition with again Maxwell's wife, who we've never fucking heard of or met or anything like that. She's hanging around with a bunch of shrill women in their underpants.
Hmm.
Wish I could
And
describe
Grant,
it.
yeah, these are 1930s underpants. So yeah, just pure. I think I saw a knee back there. Oh, hang on, wait. I see like 3/4 of the leg.
Man, love
Wow.
my shrill voice. And wonderful. We have this woman getting in. God damn it! Just the visual of it is funny. Okay, it's one of those machines that shakes your fat. Like that. That's what it is. That's what we're laughing at,
Mhm.
podcast listener.
Just slapping at her.
Anyways, turns out that a huge inheritance has come to Maxwell, and the wife wants a little in on this. So she talks to Maxwell, who is now Herman Schultz, and yeah, he begins to have psychosexual fantasies about his wife and demons and another woman.
Yeah, it's all very surreal.
Mm-hmm.
Like what those carny rides are going for, when you go through those little haunted rides. It's the
Yeah.
effect they're going for and almost never achieve.
Mm-hmm.
This being no different.
And we've got rumoring murderer's wife back. She wants, and he tells the murderer's wife and his wife, each one he says, "Oh, you need to kill this other woman because she's dangerous." And they end up fighting, vicious fight actually, in the wine cellar essentially. And yeah, we see them just battling it out. Stock footage from movies with budgets, and yeah, Maxwell is Herman Schultz. This is essentially his last hour, so he confesses his plan. They bring him down to the basement and promptly find Satan and the real Herman Schultz behind the wall. And we get one last little thing.
Also, I'm surprised the Riffers didn't make a joke about the Star Wars title crawls. I'm
Hmm.
sure these will all be the dead speak in the last Star Wars movie.
Hmm. And we have this scene of him looking very fourth wall breaking, very Deadpool. I like it. Um,
Uh-huh.
looking at us through his jail cell. It honestly looks like he's holding up the door and they're just filming him. That's honestly what it looks like.
Uh-huh.
I think that's what it is. But Maxwell is happy because he fooled them all with his impression. Wahaha.
And that's about it. He's just this little sad impressionist that just feels like there isn't too much to say here.
Yeah.
Um, I think what just stands out are the more surreal characters, him included, and our cat salesman. But otherwise, it doesn't really feel like there's a lot going on here. It feels ambitious in a sense, where again it's trying to bring up the mental health knowledge of the day, very much of the day, and also just try and create a gripping drama, but it really just seems like a bunch of strange people and not in a entertaining way for the most
Hmm.
part.
Hmm. I like the episode. Um, there's not much meat on the bone really though. Um, it's a very short movie. Very little is going on. It really is something I wish I liked more,
Mhm.
but I like it as it is.
Yeah, I feel it, I like to kind of watch these movies and think, okay, what was the vision? What are some areas where there's definitely potential that maybe wasn't met, but definitely areas of potential. And I feel it probably could have been a little better just kind of focusing more on the more surreal characters like our famous cat entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Uh, it could have focused on just what this is one of those that I could have gone with a bit of monologue just to kind of kind of showcase what's going on in our impressionist mind, as we just see these very abstract, surreal visions of better movies. But I feel it could have just helped to get a little bit of gauge on his motivations and just why were they connected. I feel there is story to be told, but it just doesn't feel like there's any sort of narrative in the
Mhm.
final product.
Yeah, it's really, I don't like using this term nothing burger, but it's kind of what it is.
Mhm. It's a more entertaining nothing burger than
Yeah,
most. Um,
yeah,
but
just the weirdness is something to behold. Like that in itself is kind of funny enough.
mhm. And yeah, even though it is pretty linear, it doesn't really feel. It feels very disjointed. Like
Yes.
there's parts that are missing, and I wonder if there's also more plans to incorporate more Poe stuff. Um, but yeah, as is, yeah, I feel just come for the cat pitch
Yeah.
because I think more people need to know about that business model.
What a weird, what a queer man.
A queer man in a queer movie.
Queer man in a queer movie. And do you have anything else to say about this?
No, I think I'm about tapped out. Any final words from yourself or Sir Christopher Lee?
Um, yes, I will end this. I will actually end this not with our standard, uh, not with our standard hanging out with the family, but with a quote from the Maniac episode. Here we go. No one can know what another person is thinking. We can only judge them by their actions. At which point, it's almost always too late. Bye, folks.
See you around.